What up, everyone? So, I'm here with my friend David.
Hello.
And we're back to do another movie review. It's been a really long time since we've done one because there haven't really been any good movies out to review. Not that it matters how good a movie is, but, there just hasn't been that many things out. Summer's over, but we just came from Doctor Strange, so one we were all very excited about. So now we're going to talk about it, give it a little review, and get some conversation going and see what you guys thought about it, too. So, starting off, initial thoughts.
I went into the movie and I saw the previews. I really wanted to see it. Was looking forward to it. And then I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. Just really good.
I thought it was just okay. I didn't think it was bad in any way. I don't really have many complaints about it. But, I wasn't... I kind of feel how I did about the preview to it. It was just hard to really get any, specific feeling about it. It looked really cool, but... when I saw the preview, I didn't know enough about Doctor Strange to get super psyched about it. And when I was watching the movie, I don't know, I kept feeling like I was waiting for something to happen. There was little action scenes, but I was kind of waiting for that big climactic part of it. And I don't really feel like there was much of that. And I feel like the story, they kind of rushed it. It was a pretty short movie, wasn't it? It wasn't only like an hour. Was it 2 hours?
I don't know how long it was.
It wasn't very long, but it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I can't remember the exact time, but it wasn't that long. For a Marvel movie, for like a big blockbuster, usually they're in the 2.5 to sometimes 3 hour range, because there's a whole backstory, and then there's a story, and they kind of sped through things. Like the first part of it was him as a doctor, and how he got into the accident, right away, and then his recovery, but it was just kind of all like a montage almost, because it just kind of sped through it.
Yeah, you didn't really get the sense of how long he was actually there. Was it a month? A year?
Yeah, and the same thing when he finally found the place he was looking for. Yeah, same thing. It was I thought they were going to say that, how long, go through it, because they even said, he studied being a doctor for years, that's what he did, and you see him, practicing stuff and not really getting it, and then all of a sudden he kind of gets it, and it's that's fine, but, I feel like there could have been so much more of that development, him learning how to do stuff. It was just kind of things just kind of happened, and it was that could have been a little more drawn out. I don't know if it would have necessarily made it better, but it just felt rushed a little bit. And then it was kind of getting towards the end, he first, didn't know how to do stuff in the middle, and then he just, all of a sudden, he just figured it out. Yeah, he just, figured it out. And they didn't really touch on that, they didn't say he was special in any way, but he just kind of just started doing stuff, and it was okay.
The one thing, there's a couple complaints I did have was, remember when he fights, I guess, the main villain, and, he's defending that one little realm or whatever, and all of a sudden he holds his own against two of his henchmen and him.
Yeah.
And where he gets the cape and stuff like that. I'm wait, didn't you just learn how to, go through time or whatever?
Yeah.
Just learn, the basics, and then all of a sudden he's, holding his own against, at least the bad guy was the master, and then he had two henchmen who were at least as good as Doctor Strange.
Yeah. And the other thing I didn't get, so, I guess I kind of understood it, so it seems like the spells that can be performed are all attached to certain things.
Yeah,
objects. So the transport one was the ring, and then the coat protected him, and then the Eye of Agamotto was time. That was the time stone, which I for some reason didn't see coming. I don't know why I didn't realize that was the time stone the whole time. They said it, and I'm oh yeah, that is the time stone. I'm so stupid.
Do we have all the stones?
No, I think we're still missing one. Because if we could try and remember, there was the time stone for this one. Ragnarok is a stone. I don't remember which one. The reality stone or something like that. And then Loki has the Tesseract is a stone.
That's the space one.
Space stone. And then Guardians of the Galaxy was the purple stone. It was Power Stone.
Power.
And then I don't remember what the other.
There's the Ether. That was in Thor 2.
Or Ether, not Ragnarok. That's the name of the movie. Ether. That's one of the stones.
And then we have the Mind one in Vision.
In Vision 5. And then there's
Soul.
So there's the sixth one. Is the one we're missing. Because there's still because I think the Tesseract was the Heartstone because he was...
No. So they have the Tesseract, which opens the portal, right?
The Tesseract... the stone that Loki has in his scepter, I think, is the Heartstone. Because he was always tapping people on the heart, and that's how he would control them. I don't know if that's the stone, but I know that it's
called the Mind Stone. So, you control his mind.
Well, then what's...
Soul is the one in Vision's head.
Okay, Soul. And then the
Ether is the power.
No, because the Guardians of the Galaxy was the power, I thought.
Did they get it?
I don't know what they would. But so yeah,
we either need one or none.
So that's 5, and then there's a 6th one, which is the middle of the hand, right? Because there's 6 total. And I think that's like the reality stone or something like that. So I think that's the one
what
we're
we need.
missing.
It's a reality stone.
And I don't know which movie it's going to be in, but I heard rumors it was going to be part of like Miss Marvel or something like that. So
it's not going to be in Guardians 2. I know they said there's no stones in that one.
So yeah, so that's one we're missing.
Reality, that's one.
So that's one left, and I think that's going to happen somewhere in this Phase 3. They have a plan for it. But yeah, so that's the only one that's missing.
Yeah, because Avengers comes out in 2018.
First one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I forgot what we're talking about.
We're talking about the how he mastered everything so quickly.
So it seems like all the spells are attached to certain items. They didn't really make it seem that way in the beginning. It made it seem like it was learning stuff, but then all of a sudden it's like, well, all the powers come from specific items. So it's like, well, what was he learning all that time then? Because as soon as he got the cape and as soon as he got like the things on him, he was doing stuff. But it was like, then what were you learning?
It's almost like, it was funny because like he picks up the eye of whatever.
Agamotto?
Yeah, and he just reads one little passage. Oh, that's how you do it. Okay, boom, and it just does it. I'm like, wow, it's like, I guess it's like, the sorcery stuff's pretty easy. You just, okay, it's like IKEA furniture. Okay, you put that in there. Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much, and that's what I mean. Like, that whole time he was there, like, what was he learning then? Like, what was he learning about? Because it seemed like he just picked up everything like that as soon as he grabbed something. Then,
well, they did say he has a natural knack for it.
And yeah, they kind of touched on that, but still, like, what was all the library stuff he was going through? Like, what was
all those other books he was reading?
Yeah, like what was all that? So there's just little bits where they could have filled in more of the story and probably made a longer movie, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. I'm sure they are thinking some movies are too long, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they put a ton of, I wouldn't say effort, but a ton of the Marvel Universe into this movie. It seems like it's kind of there as like a side thing, and it'll eventually connect to Avengers, but it doesn't seem like it's a continuing part of the loop. It just seems like it's kind of a side thing that will fit in later. Whereas all the other stories, it all kind of comes full circle.
Yeah.
But I guess just the stone, though, is what makes it come full circle.
Yeah, and then they had the end credit scenes.
Yeah, so who is that guy? Like, what's his character name?
Who?
After the credits scene, the black guy.
Mordo?
That's Mordo?
Yeah, no, it's, what's it?
I thought the blonde guy was Mordo.
No, that was, Cleekies or Cletus.
I could have swore they were referring to, because I remember the name Mordo, because I was just reviewing a Doctor Strange box.
Mordo. Baron Mordo. Yeah, or whatever. That guy, like, I always thought
that's the black guy.
That's the black guy.
Okay.
I always thought he was bad, and then I was like, wait, why is he good in this? But then at the very, 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 very end credit scene, you see him turn bad. And
I thought that too. The whole time I thought the blonde guy was Baron Mordo.
No, he was like Cleekies or something.
Because I was just reviewing a box and I saw the name Baron Mordo and I didn't know. I know who Dormammu is. I've always known that from Marvel vs. Capcom.
I was hoping they would make him smaller instead of
I did too.
Head.
I was kind of curious, like, one, if he was going to make an appearance because they kept talking about him, and two, like, I wanted to see him in, like, humanoid form. They kind of went the whole, like, Galactus and what was the villain from Green Lantern that was just like a cloud?
Parallax. Something
like that, where it was just like a big ominous like face, and it's like, okay, like there's that, but and he's I don't know, he seemed kind of weird, like
very trippy, very trippy.
Yeah.
Visually was amazing. That's why I loved it so much. I mean, it had its like, story didn't flow in certain areas. I mean, it was good overall, but the visuals were excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job on it. Like, the CG and everything didn't look out of place. Like, I think they did a fine job on it, but it also just seemed like it was just visual for visual's sake. Like, there wasn't really... The way they made it look didn't really pertain to the specific story. It was just kind of like things happening just to show how crazy everything is. And it's like, okay, that's fine. It looks cool, but... okay. Like, that was the end of that.
The one thing that kind of, like, irritated me was, how he got stabbed and almost died? He pretty much did die, and then Rachel McAdams, like, brought him back to life.
Yeah.
And sewed him up. Right after that...
He had a huge fight.
Yeah, he got the huge fight.
He was like, ass.
Yeah,
I'm like... barely walking before, and now he's just, like, good to go. I'm like...
And it wasn't, like, days later. It was literally, he walks in the next room, it's like, oh, the final battle. And I'm like, you're not even, like, you just got stabbed in the heart. You had open heart surgery. Or not open heart surgery, because he used his magic to kind of help. But he had something done with his heart. And he's just totally fine.
Yeah, there's just kind of a lot of things that didn't really get explained and talked about. And the same thing where he was like out of his body and he was fighting that dude and he got the chest bump thing and it just helped him beat that guy. And it's like, okay, I guess that would work. I don't know the translation between the two, but sure, like that's how you beat people.
Yeah.
Like apparently. And he also had the Eye of Agamotto, which helped turn back time, but he could have done it so many times in the movie. Like when the bald chick died, like he could have brought her back, or just like when he got stabbed, like he could have just reversed it and then not gotten stabbed. I thought for sure that's what he was gonna do.
That's the kind of the problem with time travel is if you use it in movies as like a device like that, then every time you're like, why don't you just use it over and over and over again? So they kind of have to. I think they didn't really show like the ill effects of it to the point where it's like, oh, I should never use this because this will happen.
They just said it. The Baron Mordo had a big speech about it. You should never do that. The repercussions, and it's like,
yeah, but there were none.
Like what would it be?
Yeah.
Maybe give an example so we can understand.
Like in the TV show Flash, he was like, why not just go back in time and do this? And then every time he did, he'd mess up something new to the point where he's like, oh, if I go back in time to save this person, I might end up killing this person. So
true, but that's like long-term time travel because it's the butterfly thing.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about someone just stabbed you and going back like 30 seconds, I can't imagine there'd be that much repercussion.
Yeah. But I think they should have showed something where it's like, you shouldn't do this because they literally all they said is so don't do it because something bad will happen, and you're like, okay, but you don't show something bad, so it's like, why not use it all the time? But yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping, I'm trusting in Marvel. Like they always do a good job. Same with Disney. Like they figure it out. So I'm kind of hoping like maybe is there plans for a Doctor Strange 2 or is it going straight? There is. Is it going to be after Avengers?
Well, obviously it's how the box office does.
True, but I mean, do you think they'll try to put one out before Avengers?
Well, think of Ant-Man. They had no real plans to make Ant-Man 2, but then it did so well at the box office, and it also got like reviews very well reviewed. So they're like, all right, now they're making Ant-Man 2, which is called Ant-Man and Wasp.
But is that coming out before Avengers 3?
I think it's coming in between Avengers 3 and 4.
Really?
Yeah. So they're like, because I think they were going to come out with Inhumans, but then they decided to scratch it.
Yeah, they canceled it for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They got the rights, which I was bummed about, because I was actually kind of excited for Inhumans.
They just put Inhumans in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. I never watched it. So.
I was excited for Inhumans because I kept hearing rumors about it, and I think those make the better movies because you don't know that much about it, you don't have high expectations, you don't know what to expect, so you can watch it at face value and just watch a movie. Whereas, because I've heard that about, my bear was just saying that about like Batman, Superman, or no, X-Men. He's like, well, for a comic movie it wasn't good, but for a regular movie it was like good just at face value, and it's like, yeah, but it's hard to do that when you have so much backstory to it. So that's why I was excited for Inhumans. Because it was like Guardians of the Galaxy. I had no idea what to expect.
Guardians had no idea.
It was wonderful. I loved it. But I'm sure it's like way far off from the original comics, and I'm sure it's crazy from what it used to be. So I don't know if there were any hardcore Guardians of the Galaxy fans, but yeah.
If they were like a D-list character, like no one even really knew much about him.
Yeah, that's why I was excited for Inhumans. But yeah, so if they do Doctor Strange 2, I hope they elaborate more on that and they do explain it. Or if it goes straight into Avengers, maybe they can talk about it, just because it did leave a lot of questions.
Well, with Doctor Strange, though, it's not as easy to explain, so it takes up more time to explain everything, just how things work and all that. That's why I think they kind of glossed over it.
Well, I totally agree, but that's not a reason to be like, well, we just won't explain it. It's like, well, no, you kind of need to a little bit.
You have to put in the origin story, then all the explaining, and make sure you get the villain appropriate time. So it was a lot to put in a movie, but I thought...
Because I assumed how they would do it is like the battle they had would have been like in Avengers 3, and then they would have come back to do just the backstory of how he got it. Because it seemed like the story of how he got the powers could have been a whole movie. And then just like with an end to it or something like that.
You know what's crazy I just realized? Of all the characters, he's the only one that didn't have a cameo before he appeared. Like, all the other ones had a cameo in, like Ant-Man
didn't.
Didn't he have a cameo?
No, he had a cameo. He had a cameo in his movie, and he had a cameo after his movie, not before. He was fresh.
Was he?
Yep. Because that was, Paul Rudd, when they announced it, it was not long before they started making the movie. There was no cameo. There might have been a mention of, like, Hank Pym or something like that in somewhere, but he never appeared anywhere. Same with Guardians of the Galaxy. They didn't appear anywhere first. There's like a bunch of
it's way off.
Yeah, that's a terrible theory. None of them did. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, well, final thoughts on it.
Well, what do you think the box office will be this weekend?
I think it'll be good, not because people are super psyched for it, because I think there's just no other good movies out. Like, there hasn't been any, like, noteworthy movies in quite a few months, like, since summer.
Well, they're coming out with 2 pretty good movies. There's that kids movie, Trolls, or whatever. But for kids, if you're bringing your kids to something.
Well, Rogue One will do good. Isn't that like December? Or is that,
and
yeah,
then
that'll do huge.
Yeah. And then there's that Mel Gibson movie, Hacksaw Ridge, which I think looks pretty good. It's like a war movie. But I think it'll probably do 80 to 90 million opening weekend domestically.
I don't know numbers that well, but I'm sure it'll do fine because Marvel fans will wait and like since they haven't seen any movies, like everyone will go there, and this one sold out really quickly, so I'm sure it'll do fine. And it was a decent movie, like there's nothing bad about it, so I'm sure it'll bring more people.
It has good reviews.
I'm not sure if that'll be like a huge following because movies like Avengers, like even if you're not a comic fan, people still went and saw it. But this one, I think you kind of have to be a comic fan. I don't think there's a secondary following for Doctor
Strange. I think
Strange.
it'll do like Ant-Man level stuff.
I don't think so because I think Ant-Man was a funny movie, and some people would see it just for like the funny parts of it. I don't think Strange like had some like quirky moments, but I don't think it was like anything other than like this is a comic movie. Like if you want to follow on the story, you got to watch this.
Well, think of like when Iron Man 1 first came out. No one really knew who Iron Man was.
I don't think that did that well, did it?
It did well enough to boost this like Marvel universe.
Yeah, I guess so. But that was a good movie too.
Yeah, I think like with most first movies, they do like because most people don't know who Doctor Strange are. Just like when Iron Man first came out, like yeah, comic nerds know and stuff like that, but the average person doesn't. It comes out and it does well enough for them to do a second one, and then the second one does really good because now everyone knows who Doctor Strange is.
Iron Man and Hulk and things like that, I think even like secondary market would have heard the name before. Whereas Doctor Strange, I don't think anyone that's not a comic fan would really know.
Yeah.
Iron Man, it's like you may not be a comic fan, but you've been like, oh yeah, I kind of know that from so and so. But Doctor Strange is like he's not unknown by any means, but you'd have to have known him from something, and he hasn't appeared in any movie. So I think it'll do decent. So what would you say final score out of 10?
Out of 10? I would say it's like, I don't know, 8 out of 10, maybe 9.
9? You go that far? You like it that much?
I gave Civil War like a 9.5.
Yeah, I gave that like a 9 out of 10, but I love that. I thought it was great. I was
Civil War is
hyped
better.
For that movie. I was hyped for that movie. It's not that one was better or worse, but that movie I was so excited for it. And Spider-Man was back and all this stuff, and I didn't have the same excitement for this. This one, I was going to give it a 7.5. That's what I'd give it. It was definitely good. It's definitely worth seeing. There's nothing really bad about it. Complaints about it, like minor complaints, few twinges they could have made, but I also wasn't like amazing, it wasn't mind-blowing, I wasn't like super excited for it, but it's definitely worth
I would definitely see it in theater though, because the visuals alone, like getting the whole experience is definitely worth it.
I'm kind of curious about what it would have looked like in 3D, like probably the only movie I've ever considered that. We're always so against it, but now I'm like...
I watched some guy who does movie reviews, and he's like, I hate 3D, but he's like, I watched this in 3D, definitely worth it, and I definitely recommend 3D, but he's like, I hate 3D.
Yeah, I do too, it's annoying.
It would be kind of, I don't know.
Maybe I'll see it again. Alright, so that was our review of Doctor Strange. Let's talk in the comments and let me know what you guys thought about it, your personal ratings, your personal thoughts on it. Let's get a discussion going, and visit my friend's channel here and show him some support, and we'll see you guys in the next movie review. Love you all. Peace.
Later.